In the schools of today, we're seeing students use AI in real time, every day, in every classroom. The question isn't whether or not it's happening, but how we guide it responsibly. And I think it's very important that we take a look at UNESCO's AI framework in order to kind of figure out where we could go from here. Welcome back to episode number 15 of In the Know with Mr. O. As I said, I want to talk about UNESCO's framework. And for those of you who don't know what UNESCO is, it's the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, who puts together different frameworks about different tasks. And this one that we're going to talk about today is about artificial intelligence. I think it's very, very important. I was recently a part of a student superintendent advisory panel in which we got together with district leaders and a group of students from grades 9 to 12 to talk about AI use and its effect in the classroom. And students kind of broke off into two categories when it came to this. One, students didn't want to use AI whatsoever. They wanted to maintain their human autonomy and felt that they can do what they needed to do using their own brain without the help of an aid. And then other students realized that this could be coming down the pike. It could be beneficial for solving problems, solving tasks, crunching large sets of data, but that how could they maintain their human agency, their human-centered mindset, and to keep their own autonomy when using AI to help grow it. So with that, both of those two groups align with the fact that they want to keep their own thoughts at the forefront of their mind. And even those students who are vastly against it, they understand that it could help in some ways, but they may align themselves with a job that may not necessarily need it, such as art, theater, the creative aspect of society, right? So there has to be this blend and mix of where it can be used and where it cannot. So that leads back to the UNESCO framework. And the UNESCO framework has actually put together a comprehensive guide for students and teachers to be able to use in order to help get school districts, charter schools, educational institutions of the like on the same path in order to help content-specific teachers at those levels be able to break it down when they make up their curriculum maps. So it's basically broken up into 4 different categories, of which 4 different systems are used to look at it, and then 3 levels to guide each of those 4 breakdown groups. So interestingly enough, the first category is human-centered agency. Okay, very, very important to maintain that human autonomy through this whole entire process, right? The next is ethics in AI. What is morally good and morally judgmental? You do not want to get so connected to AI that you think it's a real person and then rely on that, because as we've seen, AI can produce some incorrect results, incorrect calculations. So we can't assume it's going to use the human element, right? And discernment to be able to help a person read feelings, interpret emotions, and be able to respond accordingly. It's just 2 in its infancy yet, even though it's very advanced seemingly, right? The techniques and approaches to use AI, and then basically the system design, right? How are we going to design systems that help make what we're looking to do that and maintain all those points beforehand? Within that, it's broken up into 4 competencies or 4 different categories, of which the first one is student competency, right? What do you want them to learn? Okay. The next one is the curriculum goals. What levels do you want them to reach and how? All right. The next one is the pedagogical methods, right? The teaching styles. How are we going to integrate this in the classroom on a subject-specific basis to help bring the best AI use out of it while maintaining that human-centered agency, right? That human autonomy aspect, the ethical aspect, right? And maintaining the technological approaches to get there. And then finally, the learning environment. In what way are they going to learn this, and how are they going to learn this? What classroom? What's it going to be set up as? What are the lessons going to look like? Are they going to be writing papers in some cases? Are they going to be just crunching data and numbers? A lot of times I notice with the prompting, you have to kind of ask AI if you've used it to calculate large swaths of data, is it correct? And a lot of the times it'll tell you no, that it found some errors. But within that, those 4 main subgroups of the human agency, the ethics, the techniques and approaches, and the system design, they're broken down into 3 overall levels that you need to go through in order to maintain this framework and have it be very authentic. Level 1 is understanding, right? We need to understand those first 4 subgroups in its entirety to be able to move on, right? The next one is the application level, right? How are we applying it? What are you doing in the curricular goals? How are they being applied to the overall learning, design, and method? And then the next one is obviously creation, right? Remember in a previous episode, all the way back in episode 2, I talked about that reverse Bloom's taxonomy, right? Or instead of creation being the last aspect, it's the first aspect, right? But we need to build to that point. The kids need to work on it and use. And this is going to be a conversation that you're going to see over the course of the next months to years, is how do you design something that maintains human agency when using a computer that really does not have any human emotion, right? How are we going to use this as a tool? And what foundational elements do all people need to know first in order to properly prompt and have authenticity when prompting in order to get something back out of it? I was recently published in a Principles magazine writing about authenticity prompting with AI in Pennsylvania, and we really need to know and understand that kids and students and people need a foundational level first in order to be able to put in a prompt. Anybody can say, hey, type me a 3 to 5 page paper on this topic, but what you really need to do is pare down, and this is what I told the students in that advisory panel, pare down the prompts to something that you're specifically stuck on, and that still takes you learning about the content before you even put anything as simple as, hey, write me a 3 to 5 page paper. And that's where some AI companies like Magic School have done it right. You put in a simple prompt like that, it'll kick it back out and say, hey, you didn't do your research beforehand. So AI could be the wave of the future, right? It's coming into schools. We have to understand and put in a framework in order to make it authentic for the human experience. I suggest checking out UNESCO's framework online. It's free to look at, okay? And as always, please feel free to reach out to me, connect with me, talk with me. My contact information's in the YouTube channel that you could see here. Like, comment, and subscribe. And thanks for tuning in for another episode of In the Know with Mr. O. Peace, everybody.